Okay, this evening I figured that since I was doing the singing as well, that I'd kind of incorporate the two. So we'll be speaking this evening about being still and meditating, and that song was quite appropriate for that theme. And as we go through the lesson, we'll do one or two other songs as well, just to kind of guide our thoughts as we go along. So the idea this evening is to contemplate stillness, being quiet, organizing your thoughts, and communing with God in that way. And so we'll kick off with another song, which is song number 30, I think. 31, sorry. And we'll sing this, and as we do so, I'd like you just to calm your thoughts and to start focusing on what the words are saying and on what God wants us to learn this evening.
Know that I am God, be still and know that I am God. I am the Lord that strengthens thee. I am the Lord that strengthens thee. I am the Lord that strengthens thee.
When was the last time that you can think of that you really had an opportunity to be really still and quiet? You know, it's actually really difficult nowadays, a lot more difficult than it's ever been in the past, I believe, to actually take time to be quiet, because there's just too much going on. How about at work? I don't know what your guys' work is like, but my work is always frantic and hectic and hardcore. And there's just people that you've got to sort out, you've got problems you've got to sort out, there's customers you've got to sort out, and there's just one thing after the other, and you're just constantly barraged with all these problems and these things that you've got to solve, and projects that you've got to do. And it's very easy for all of this to become a bit of a mess in your mind, because you're trying to deal with 100 things at once. You've got to keep a lot of balls in the air all at once. And what that does is that it gets your mind into the habit of jumping from one thing to the next. And I find sometimes that when I come home in the evening, my thoughts are all over the place, because I've been jumping from one thing to the next all day long. And I find it very difficult just to quieten down. What about families? Those of you who have families with little children running around, constantly asking for attention, constantly asking for this, that, and the next thing. You've got to make sure they're okay. You've got to make sure they're looked after. There's just always franticness about the house when there's little ones about. I know, because I've got a nephew and a niece. Got a little imaginary family of my own. We sit around the table at night and have dinner together. But I can just imagine what it must be like to have that 24/7. And I thank God that I don't have that at the moment, to be honest. How about the media? Everywhere you look, the TV's on, and there's just images, there's advertising, billboards, just driving down the road. Everybody wants you to buy stuff. You go to the shops, there's magazines shouting out at you from the covers, read me, because you have to know about this, that, and the next thing. So much information that's been constantly streamed at you, everything vying for your attention. You have to spend time and find out about this, and you have to spend time and find out about that. And you can't go anywhere without being inundated with this barrage of information. Even driving to work, which actually should be a time when you can take a bit of time to yourself and think about things. You've got the radio on. And the radio is also just constantly giving you information. And I listen to 5FM in the mornings, and I find that whenever they put on those F&B ads, I just have to switch the radio off for that moment to not go insane. And it's amazing how my mind just loves that moment of silence, when suddenly the music stopped and the DJ's not shouting off his head off anymore, and there's just that moment of peace. And suddenly my mind wants to start thinking about stuff. And I actually sometimes forget to put the radio back on 30 seconds later, because I'm actually enjoying having some time to myself to think about things. Of course, nowadays we've got the internet as well, so you can always hop on there and find just about anything you want, any information you want. It's a great tool. It's a wonderful means of learning about things. It's a wonderful means of being able to distribute your own work, if you like. But at the same time, it comes at the price of always being there, so you're always tempted to go and use it. And how many of you who use the internet, who surf the internet, have found that you start looking at something, you want to find out something, and then you get distracted by this link and by that link, especially on YouTube. And like 10 minutes later, you're like, why am I watching this? How did I get here from where I was there? I wanted to know about that, and now suddenly I've been led here because they do it, man. It's a conspiracy, I tell you. Then the worst thing of all, of course, our mobile phones. You know, before, if you went to the shop, for instance, and you had to stand in a long queue, then there was a moment, or the bank, really long queue. There was a time when you could actually take some time to think. But now we've got this portable little wealth of information, and we immediately take up that time by either connecting with friends or checking our Facebook or whatever it is that people do on the phones. And so there's like literally no time in the day anymore when you actually have a moment that you can just be quiet and still and think about things and focus on things. Because at every possible moment, even when you're in the toilet, if you take your phone with you, there's no time to be still. Do we do this anymore? Do we actually take the time anymore to be still and to think about things? And why is it important? Why should we do this? Is it important? I mean, surely it's better to have access to all this knowledge. Surely it's better to try and find out about as many things as possible and know a little bit about everything. Isn't that better? But you see, the problem is that if you fill your mind with hundreds and thousands and millions bits of information, and you never actually focus on anything, it's very easy to get lost. It's very easy to not actually achieve anything because you're distracted in 100 different ways. And look at people that excel in life. Look at sports people, for instance. When they prepare to do whatever it is that they're going to do, they take a moment of complete silence, if possible, and they focus all their energy. They focus their entire being on what they're about to do. When they're playing tennis, the umpire always has to say, "Silence, please, keep quiet." These guys need silence. They need as much silence as possible to be able to focus their powers and their skills to be able to do what it is that they need to do. And you know, they've done tests and experiments with like actual science and electrodes and, no, not really, but they've done a lot of research into meditation. Because a lot of people extol the virtues of meditation. Meditation, of course, is where you take time to just completely shut everything out and you meditate on whatever it is that you want to think about, or even just clear and empty your mind completely and focus on just on cleansing your soul, as they say. Now, of course, there's a whole almost religion to that, and that's just filling you up with an emptiness, really, and nothing else. But God Himself calls on us to meditate as well, to meditate on His Word, to meditate on good things. And it's very important. And the reason is because they have found that meditation does have a number of benefits. those who meditate are more productive. And the reason why this is if you're not able to focus your thoughts, if your thoughts are always in disarray, then you will be disorganized. When you try and do tasks, when you try and accomplish anything, you'll be all over the place, and you won't be able to focus your energies in a step-by-step manner so as to achieve what it is that you want. So meditation is very important for you to be able to learn to control your thoughts and organize your thoughts, and in that way become more productive. People who meditate are just generally more happy. They're happier. They have a greater capacity for happiness even, some would say. Some say that it opens up parts of the brain which control your happiness so that you're able to be even happier. And that's because you're more in touch with your feelings, with your emotions. You're more in touch with what it is that you need, and you're more focused and better equipped to be able to achieve the things and do the things that do make you happy. Enhances your creativity. I know for myself, when it comes to writing songs, for instance, you'll go through periods where you just have no inspiration whatsoever. Just nothing seems to want to come. And that's always when you're most busy, when you're most wrapped up in 100 different things. Then your soul doesn't have a chance to be able to open up and receive the messages that creative people receive. I believe that they're God-given messages that He sends to you that allows you to be creative. I believe that when you create a song or a story or a painting or whatever it is, that thing, the reason why that is such exquisite beauty is because it comes from God. And He has allowed you to manifest it physically, but it's from Him. But unless you're actually able to receive those messages from Him, you're blocked, and you can't allow, the creativity just doesn't flow. Gives you better focus and mental clarity. You know, some of the best ideas that I have occur in the shower, strangely enough. And I always find, you know, if I'm struggling with something, trying to solve a problem, or even if I just get moments of inspiration, they generally come in the shower. In the morning, I suppose you're refreshed, you've just had a bit of a sleep. But I must say I'm not a morning person, so I don't wake up like Sealy Pasta PG kind of fresh. I wake up like, no, got to get through the day. And you get in the shower, and but then that water encompasses you, and the world is shut out, and you don't hear anything except that the sound of the water hitting your skin and your face, and a kind of calmness comes over you, and then you wake up because it's like there's water in your face, but also you're given like a cocoon where the thoughts are able to prosper and you're able to foster new ideas. Gives you increased spiritual development. And we've touched on that already, because you need to be able to open yourself up to the messages that God is sending to you. And He doesn't just send creative messages, of course. He sends all sorts, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Improves your relationship with others. Why is that? What do people most really want in relationships? At the end of the day, you need a connection with somebody. You need to feel like that person understands me. When I speak to them, they know what I'm saying. When I'm going through something, they understand what I'm feeling. And the only way that you can get that kind of connection is if you truly listen to each other. You take the time to find out how does this person work, and what is this person actually saying, and what makes them tick. And to do so, you can't be bombarded with 100 distractions. You have to be able to clear that aside and focus on that person and listen and soak in everything that they're communicating to you. And stillness is required for that. Obviously, it relieves stressful feelings, because you can't be too stressed if you're like, You know what I'm saying? It takes all the tension out of the body, takes the tension out of the brain, and because you're allowing yourself to relax, and if you're doing this regularly, then your body is better able to cope with stress, and your mind is better able to cope with stress. You gain control of your energy levels because you're giving yourself regular breaks, because you're not constantly on the go. You know, people wonder, why is it that I struggle to sleep? And the reason is because you get up in the morning and immediately you've got to start doing stuff, and you've got to be on the go, and you've got to get this done, that done, the next thing, and it's like that all the way through the day, and then you come home and you've got to like do the supper and the dishes, and you've got to look after the kids or the puppies or whatever it is, and then you like sit down and you take in the TVs. Now time to go to sleep because I've got to work tomorrow. Now your mind's like, what? You want me to sleep now? After how many hours are we awake? 24? No. 18? 16 if you're lucky? After all that franticness, now you suddenly want to be able to switch off and just have like the most wonderful night's rest so that you can wake up all refreshed in the morning. It can't work like that. During the course of the day, you have to take little moments. And I've taken to, in my lunch times at work, to jump out the building, hop into my car, seat goes back, and for just half an hour, I just lie there. Sometimes I might take a little nap, but most times, you just let your mind rest. And I tell you, I get back inside, they call it power napping actually, if you actually do take the nap, but you don't always take the nap. Sometimes your brain just needs that little moment to be able to solve something that you've been struggling with all morning. I go back in the afternoon, and I'm as productive as I was in the morning. And I see everybody around me is like, they're coming to a halt. Like after lunch, that's it, baby. My time's up. Just that little half hour. So if you do that more often, just imagine what more you're able to achieve. It's the way we're made. We just need those little moments to be able to replenish ourselves. You're better able to control your thoughts. This is very important as a Christian because we are told that we need to control our thoughts because Satan is always vying to take control of our thoughts. And we need to give our being up to God and allow Him to control our thoughts. And in so doing, you need to be able to control your thoughts yourself as well. And you need to be open to Him to understand what it is that He wants you to think on. And that brings us to Philippians chapter 4, which I'd like to read to you. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 through 9. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all you learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. You see, Satan is desperately trying to distract us from what is good and pure by bombarding us with all this stuff. And if we don't take the time and actually physically remove ourselves from that and focus on what it is that God wants us to focus on what is good and lovely and pure, then he finds it a lot easier, Satan finds it a lot easier to manipulate and tempt us. And that is why we're bombarded with all these things. And that is why it's so important that we take the time to be still. I'd like at this point to lead us in hymn number 552. Sing with me 552.
not the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me after thy will, while I am waiting, yielded and still. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Search me and try me, Master, today. Whiter than snow, Lord, wash me just now, as in thy presence humbly I bow. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Hold o'er my being absolute sway. Fill with thy spirit, till all shall see Christ only always living in me.
The reason why we really need to be still is because we need to be able to hear God calling to us. I'd like to read the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 3. Now Samuel's mother was Hannah, and she desperately wanted a child. She was praying to God to be given a child. God blessed her with a child, and so in thanks, she gave the child back to God and gave him to Eli, who was the priest, for Eli to bring up to serve God from his early days. So Samuel is with Eli, and I'm going to read from verse 1, chapter 3. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel served the Lord by assisting Eli. Now in those days, messages from the Lord were very rare, and visions were quite uncommon. One night Eli, who was almost blind by now, had gone to bed. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of God. Suddenly the Lord called out, "Samuel?" "Yes," Samuel replied. "What is it?" He got up and ran to Eli. "Here I am. Did you call me?" "I didn't call you," Eli replied. "Go back to bed." So he did. Then the Lord called out again, "Samuel." Again Samuel got up and went to Eli. "Here I am. Did you call me?" "I didn't call you, my son," Eli said. "Go back to bed." Samuel did not yet know the Lord, because he had never had a message from the Lord before. So the Lord called a third time, and once more Samuel got up and went to Eli. "Here I am. Did you call me?" Then Eli realized it was the Lord who was calling the boy. So he said to Samuel, "Go and lie down again, and if someone calls again, say, 'Speak, Lord, your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went back to bed. And the Lord came and called as before, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel replied, "Speak, your servant is listening." See, God doesn't call us in this way anymore. But he calls us through a multitude of things. Firstly, through his word, which we need to look at. But then also he gives us messages through people that we meet, things that we read, experiences that we have. They're messages that God is giving us, calling us to do something, because he has a mission and a plan for each and every one of us. And he has everything laid out for us to be able to achieve what it is that he wants us to achieve. But in order for us to do so, we need to hear the calling. And to hear the calling, we need to be able to be still and listen. Listen to what the Lord is saying in the Bible. Truly listen to what those around us are saying. Listen to your heart, as Roxanne would have you go. Was it Roxanne? Roxette, someone? Listen to what God is saying within you, because he speaks to you in that way. And in so doing, you will find what it is that he wants for you. And in that way, you'll make yourself moldable by him, the potter, and he can create what it is that he wants from you. We're going to sing hymn 655, just on that theme as well.
Would you be poured out like wine upon the altar for me? Would you be broken like bread to feed the hungry? Would you be so one with me that you would do just as I will? Would you be light and life and love, my word fulfilled? Yes, I'll be poured out like wine upon the altar for you. Yes, I'll be broken like bread to feed the hungry. Yes, I'll be so one with you that I would do just as you will. Yes, I'll be light and life and love, your word fulfilled.
So in closing, I'd just like to encourage you all to take the time, whenever you can, make the time to take moments of silence. We need moments of silence to be able to pray to God, and prayer is of utmost importance, and it's really a part of this as well. But it's not everything. You need sometimes as well just to actually think and allow Him to guide your thoughts. If you don't think and analyze and reflect, you won't realize what it is that you need to do. You won't realize how you need to change. You won't come to realize who you are, what affects you, what makes you do the things you do, because you'll just be reacting all the time. You'll be fed circumstances and information and actions, and you'll just react to that, and you'll just react to that. And you won't know who you are, and you won't know why you're doing those things. So you need to make sure that you take the time, study the Word, find out what it is that God is saying to you through His Word. Pray to Him, ask Him for guidance and for help. But also just think in silence and in stillness. And when you find what it is that God wants you to do, then get out there and do it. And follow Him, follow where He's leading you, so that you can get to the destination that He has planned for you.